Today is the 26th of March 2024. Now, the 17th of October 2024, will this be the date that the presidential election will be held? Now, before we get to that story in detail, hello and welcome to yet another edition of Yes 101's Visual Radio for the Newsfirst team. I'm Jwadabdin.
And I'm Mariam Gunavijaya. First up, let's take a look at your headlines.
Newsfirst headline.
And making headlines, presidential election before October 17th, says UNP Chairman. Hamilton Reserve Bank tells US court to give Sri Lanka conditional extension. Bribery case against Kehelia to go ahead. In international news, Putin pins Moscow massacre on radical Islamists but accuses Ukraine too. And in sports, it's cricket. Australia-India 5-test blockbuster to start in Perth in late November.
On to your lead story this evening, newspapers today reported that President Ranil Wickremesinghe has clearly assured that the presidential election will be held. The Daily Mirror reported today that the presidential election will be held in the first week of October. The report added that President Ranil Wickremesinghe has informed his close associates and hinted to his cabinet that the presidential election will be held as scheduled, indicating Basil Rajapaksa's failure in convincing the president to hold the parliamentary polls. Journalists raised questions over the matter with UNP Chairman MP Wajirabewardena at a media briefing in Galle today. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
ඔක පැහැදිලිව කියලා ඉවරයි මේ අවුරුද්ද පටන් ගන්නකොට ජනාධිපතිවරණය තියෙනවා කියලා. නෑ එක එක්කෙනා කියන ඒවා දාලා නෑනේ ආණ්ඩු ක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව අනුව ජනාධිපති මැතිවරණය පැවැත්වෙනවා ඔක්තෝබර් 17 වෙනිදාට කලින්.
Meanwhile, former chairman of the Election Commission Mahinda Deshapriya joined Suranga Senanayake of Newsfirst on a discussion on Newsline today. And his position is that the government cannot refrain from holding the presidential election. A more comprehensive report on this story is coming up on our primetime news bulletin tonight at 9 p.m. on TV1.
And now moving on to more news from home, the Hamilton Reserve Bank has told a US court to give Sri Lanka a conditional extension till the end of April. Now, plaintiff Hamilton Reserve Bank Limited, countering the defendant Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka's motion for a 5-month stay, has requested the New York Southern District Court to extend the stay till the end of April 2024 on the condition that timely and specific information about the status of restructuring be submitted by the 16th of April. Now, the Daily FT reported that complete details about any restructuring proposal Sri Lanka made or received and the progress are the key contents of the proposed reports the plaintiff demands. Now, HRB has argued a further 5-month stay until the end of July 2024 is unwarranted. Now, the Paris Club members and the US have also supported Sri Lanka's request for the extension. Now, Sri Lanka was sued in the United States by a bondholder after the government defaulted on its debt for the first time in history, while struggling to stop economic meltdown. Now, Hamilton Reserve Bank Limited owns over $250 million in principal amount of $1 billion worth of Sri Lanka's 5.875% international sovereign bonds issued in 2012. Now, filed the lawsuit in June last year in a New York federal court seeking payment of principal and interest.
In more local news, Colombo Chief High Court Judge Damita Thoravata rejected the preliminary objections filed by the defense, claiming the case filed against 2 defendants, including former Minister Kehelia Rambukwala, cannot be continued. In addition, the judge fixed dates for the hearing, and the case was filed in connection with the incident of using 230,000 rupees from the State Printing Corporation for the settlement of Rambukwala's personal mobile phone bill during his tenure as Minister of Mass Media. The judge ordered the trial to be held on the 22nd of July. The commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption filed the case against a former Minister Kehelia Rambukwala and the former chairman of the State Printing Corporation, Jayampati Bandarahi Hemba. When the case was called today, former Minister Kehelia Rambukwala, who was in remand custody, was presented to court by prison officials.
International news.
And now moving on to your news overseas. Now Russia's President Vladimir Putin has acknowledged radical Islamists carried out Friday's deadly attack on a Moscow concert hall. Now, but he has repeated his claim that they had some kind of a link to Ukraine and the West. Now, Ukraine has rejected the Russian claim as absurd as well. Now, the Islamic State, or in other words, the IS group, says it was behind the atrocity in which 139 people were killed, and it has also released footage of the attack. Now, according to Russian officials, 22 people are still in a serious condition in hospital, including 2 children.
Sports news.
And in sports news, Perth Stadium have dethroned the Gabba as Australia's preferred first-test venue, with a 5-match Border Gavaskar Trophy to begin in Perth on the 22nd of November this year, before the series moves to Adelaide for the day-night test, Brisbane, Melbourne for Boxing Day, and Sydney for the New Year's test. Cricket Australia unveiled their international schedule for next summer, with the Border Gavaskar Trophy as the summer's showpiece event.
And with that, we wrap up this editions of Yes 101's Visual Radio. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Joed Abdin.
And I'm Mariam Ganavijaya. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night and take care.